Hello, welcome back. So we're going to continue with our setup. Now, last time we had we'd installed virtual environment wrapper and got that working on Ubuntu. And one of the steps we did was we did this export command, but we changed the directory here to match the name of the directory that we created. And we added this line here to our bash rc file. But what I want to do is I want to also add our export command to the bash rc file so that that environment variable is set for every shell that we open. So let's do that right now. Okay, so let's nano into bash rc and control V to scroll all the way down, and let's paste this. And we'll change the directory name to match the name of the directory that we created. Venvs. Okay, and control X to save, yes, and voila. Okay, so that's done. Let's just take env to see what our environment variables are right now. And we have workon home right here set to our the directory that we created. So what are we going to do next? Let's actually set up Git for downloading, that is for cloning the repository of the project that we're going to work on. Okay, so we're going to follow the instructions available on the github.com website, and that is right here. It's help.github.com/article/set-up-git, and I will post that link. So the first thing we're going to do is run this command. I actually don't think that these are necessary in order to clone the repository, but if you want to contribute, you should set all this stuff up. Okay, so let's go back to our terminal and paste that command. So we're going to set our username. Mine, I'll just use my first and last name together with no space. You can choose whatever you want for yours. And let's go back here. And email. And terminal. So the first one was git config -- global user space user.name space whatever. So here I will use my email address. jamal@gmail.com. Now, the next step, it says here, involves password caching, so you don't have to enter your password each time you want to make a contribution if you want to push your changes. Let's see what it says. You need to turn on credential helper. So, password caching. Well, let's just forget that. Okay, so we'll leave the password caching for now. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to create a directory here in our Ubuntu Linux for working on our National Social Assistance Registry project. So let's first create a directory where we will store all of our web development projects. So let's cd into our home directory, and let's make a directory, make dir website repos, as in website repositories, and let's cd into that website repos. Okay, as you can see it's empty. So now we're going to make a directory for the National Registry repository, so nr repo. Okay. Okay, while we're at it, we might as well activate our virtual environment. So let's do that now. Workon nr.venv, which we created last time. Ooh, what happened here? Oh, I guess we didn't create it. Okay, so let's do that. Make virtualenv nr.venv. Okay, and it's already activated it for us, as you can see by the change in our command prompt. So now that that's activated, let's just show you. Let me just show you what the environment variables are here. It's got all this stuff, but we're going to add to that also. I just typed env to see what the environment variables are. Okay, so let's clone the repository for the National Social Assistance Registry project. So I'm going to use this site, git-scm.com, to look up the commands to do the cloning. So the command is going to be git clone, and then the name of the GitHub, the link to the GitHub repository preceded by git instead of HTTP or anything. And then the last argument will be the name of the directory. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste. So the directory is called nr repo. And I'm going to go to github.com to get the exact address for the repository. Okay, so to get the address, the link to the project repository, I'm going to do a search. I'm going to go to github.com. And then I'm going to look for myself. Okay, look at code. Here it is. The Social Assistance Registry project is right here. And if you look down to the right here in the middle of the screen, you'll see HTTPS clone URL. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'll go back to my terminal. And I'll paste that address. I don't need 2 gits, just one. And it should hopefully clone that repository into this project folder that we've created here on our local Ubuntu machine. So I'll hit enter, and here we go. Okay, so I'm going to cd into that repository root. And there it is. There are all the files. Okay, now before we start doing anything, I need to set some environment variables. It's a good idea to store passwords and all that other stuff in environment variables rather than files because it's more secure. I'm following the 2 scoops of Django philosophy. It's a book written by, I think it's Daniel Roseman. And he's got some great advice in there. I recommend you check it out. I'll post a link to the book. But for now, let's set our environment variables, and we will do that in the activate script that activates our virtual environment. So let's do this. Sudo, well, probably don't need sudo, but let's do it anyways. Actually, we don't. I'm going to deactivate. Let's try sudo nano venvs nr.venv then activate. We're going to edit this file. This is the file that is run in order to activate the virtual environment. So each time you type workon in the name of your virtual environment, this file is run. So let's go down to the end, and we're going to put here export commands to export the environment variables that we want to export. So let's get started. Okay, so the first one we will export is export secret key, and we'll make that some secret key. Next we'll do masking key, export masking key. These are specific to this Django project. actually, the secret key, will always have to export one of those. The masking key is specific to this. I use it to mask the ID variable of of some of the database tables that I use. So start with 0x and make it a hexadecimal number. So A, B, C, D, and that should work. Okay. We need to export our database default engine. Export export database default engine equals, I'm not even sure that we need the quotes for this, but I'll put them anyways. This is going to be django.db.backends.mysql. So django.db.backends.mysql. And let's do export database default name equals, I called mine nr, export database default user equals root, and I'm going to do control K for cut and uncut, and I'll put password equals root, and then port and host. I don't need to define port and host, but I need to have it there. So even if it just equals blank, so here we go, port and host. Okay, and then email, I'll need email host. Export email host equals localhost, and user and password. I don't need those actually to have any value. I can just leave them blank. Email host underscore user and host underscore password. Now for email, for an email server, for the Django development server, I just use the local SMTP client, which I can show you later. It just spits out the results of any email that you receive to your local host. Okay, so I think that's enough. I hope that's all right. And let's go work on nr.venv. Let's see if those are in our environment. So yeah, database default password, and the masking key is there and all that. So that at least worked. So let's start with let's go back to our project folder, and that was website repos and nr repo. Okay, let's go into requirements, cd requirements, rec star, and more local. We're going to use the local file. This is a list of required files, required Python packages for the Django project to work. And so the local file just references the base. So let's do more base. So these are all the packages that need to be installed in order for this project to run. So instead of manually pip install MySQL Python, pip install Django, pip install stuff. What we can do is these requirements files exist in order to make that process a little bit easier. So let me just show you how it's done. Pip install r requirements / local.txt. Let's hope this works. Okay, and there you go. It's starting with the MySQL Python package. Aha. Well, nothing's easy, right? So it turns out we need to do a few other things. Let's start by following the advice here. When I typed in my error in this Google search bar, came up with an answer on Stack Overflow. So let's try and following the advice here on this post. So let's deactivate, and then install this package that is recommended. So here we go. Okay, we're back, and now let's reactivate our environment, work on nr.settings.local. Okay, and the other piece of advice was to install all this stuff. Actually, we don't need to do that inside our virtual environment, so let's not do so. Deactivate and paste. Okay, so that took some time, but now we're back on track. So let's activate our virtual environment again. And let's try to install our requirements again. Okay, so far so good. I'm just periodically pausing the screencast because these installations are taking some time. So it's not actually going as fast as you see this on the screencast. Okay, it looks like the installation was successful. Okay, great. So now we have to add our project root path. We're in the repository root right now, but the project root is actually nr. So cd nr. So so this is the project root directory, and we have to add this to our virtual environment path. So add to virtualenv this path. So let's just copy and paste it. And well, let's hope it works. Okay. Alright, so let's try running the server. django-admin.py run server 8000 settings equals nr local nr settings local. Set the database default engine variable. So I thought we did that. Okay, let's check that out. Databases default engine. What's wrong here? Databases. It's singular, not plural. So I have to fix that. So let's deactivate. I know this screencast is getting long, but let's try and do this quickly. So nano venvs nr bin activate and control V to go all the way down. Control Y to go back up. And let's change these to become all plural. Save, yes. And workon nrv-env. Okay, so let's try and running that server again. Wow, seems too good to be true. So let's try this. 127.0.0.1 8,000. Wow, the Django development server is up and running. Okay, so yeah, so this screencast is already quite long. There are a couple of more things to do. I'll figure those out and maybe make another screencast. Yeah, but so there it is. If you have any questions, post them in the comments section. Okay, thanks. Talk to you later, or hope you'll join the next screencast. Okay, bye.